Afternoon, folks. Brian here, Geomagnetic Earth Watch on Friday, November 24, 2023 on our planet. Hope you're all well. I just want to do a brief talk about our recent seismic events on our planet, some areas of note and concern. I want to start off with the Cascadia subduction zone. So the Cascadia subduction zone is a section of three Pacific plates starting from the north end of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, extending all the way down to the coasts of Washington, Oregon, and the northern section of California. Starting from the top, you have the Explorer plate. In the midsection, we have the larger Juan de Fuca plate. And just below that, off the shores of northern California, we have the Gorda plate. So what we have is we have the Pacific plate, the ocean floor of the Pacific Ocean. This is North America. This is the Pacific Ocean, subducting, sliding underneath the continental plate. Subduction. So as it does, there's going to be vibrations, as indicated by the tremors. This is fine. This is okay. But sometimes it's going to get stuck. And it's going to get jammed up. The energy is still there pushing. And eventually the energy is going to release and snap, causing a mega thrust earthquake. Tremors are okay. Tremors are tremors, they're not earthquakes. They're at the plate interface, which is approximately 25 kilometers down below your feet. You're not going to feel them. Your animals might sense them. What also is normal is that energy, so a slow slip event which can last for several weeks at a time. They're also called slow earthquake, matching up to the equivalent of a magnitude 7 earthquake. However, that energy is going to be released through a series of earthquakes offshore at the fracture zones, at the Mendocino Ridge, and off of the Blanca fracture zone. We like those earthquakes. We like to see those earthquakes there. We don't want to see those on land. Bad on land. Good in the ocean. It's relieving that built-up energy. That's why I completely ignore all the ones, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, maybe the odd 5 right on the fracture zone. We like those. Yes, indeedy. But what we don't like is a change in the pattern, such as it's just starting now. I'll give you some examples. Tremors happen at the north end, which is the south end of Vancouver Island, Victoria, Seattle, Puget Sound, that area, North Cascadia. And South Cascadia, which is off of the southwest coast of Oregon, northern section of California. Standard grouping locations: Redding, California, Medford, Oregon, etc. Normally, directly in line offshore from those grouping of tremors, there'll be a release of the energy. So if you get a cluster outside of Medford, Oregon, there will be an earthquake up to magnitude 4 on the Mendocino fracture zone. It's fine. It's okay. However, we normally do not have tremors in the middle, around the Portland area. We do not have earthquakes in the same vicinity or direct area as a cluster of tremors, such as north of Portland. Yesterday's tremors followed by a 3.1 earthquake in the same location. That should be getting someone's attention. Some other examples: 3.1 north of Seattle the day before. There was a 2.8 on the continental shelf, well away from the fracture zones off the coast of Eugene, Oregon. And several well south of the Gorda plate. coast of California, and one in the middle of the Gorda Plate, not at the fracture zones. This is the change that should warrant some situational awareness. It's not necessarily a forewarning of the big one coming. Hope not. So that's the Cascadia subduction zone. Let's continue. Indonesia. There's an ongoing earthquake swarm migrating onto the island of Sumba. So Sumba is west of Timor. A little bit concerning there. I watch Indonesia because that's my wife's country. There's a video circling around about a wind event north Halmahera region, which is east of Sulawesi. You gotta be careful when you see these videos. They're calling it a wind event, but all they're showing is earthquake damage. I question the authenticity of that video and where it is from. However, there is conflictions. In that video, all of the females, and none of them are wearing the standard Indonesian religious headwear. A couple of cars depicted in that video, all the cars in Indonesia are very narrow body cars. Narrow body because there's so many of them. But in that video, they were showing some wide body cars. A lot of the men look like Filipinos. Even the colors of some of the clothing are the standard Filipino colors. So many things that tell me that that was not an earthquake in the Indonesian region. However, at the same time that video comes out, remember there was the deleted 6.4 earthquake in the exact same region, however, at 119 kilometers depth. And then the 7 or 7.1 or 7.2 in southern Philippines. All these areas fit into my prediction because it is following the same pattern as the January 2023 7.6 Banda Sea Arc earthquake, followed by the deep earthquakes east of Sulawesi, and then a larger 7.3 in the same region. So we had a deep 5.8 and then a deep 6.4 deleted, and then we had the 7.1 in southern Philippines, following the same pattern. And I still don't think it's over. Let's move on to what woke me up in the middle of the damn night. The magnitude 7 or 7.1 earthquakes in the Marianas Trenches. Three buoys were sent into motion, or event mode. Tsunami buoys can be activated not just from a tsunami wave. Remember, I keep on telling you, the tsunami buoys are anchored to the ocean floor. If there's going to be any movement in the ocean floor from, mantle plume, either up or down, then those buoys are going to go into event mode. One of them, the one closest off the coast of Japan, showed briefly a movement of 73 or 75 feet. 75 feet. Now I'll check the local webcams along the coasts of Japan, and there is no tsunamis. Maybe some very, very minor waves, but no tsunamis. Speaking of tsunamis hitting the west coast of Japan, do you remember my report a couple of weeks ago? The mysterious small tsunami that hit the west coast of, east coast of Japan, that came out of nowhere. Do you remember that guy in Missouri? You know, the princess who wants all the worldly attention? That guy? Do you remember he did a video saying that was the USGS trying to discredit him? Some guys, they want all the attention, you know, princesses. They want all the attention. And he says, no, that tsunami didn't happen. No, they're just trying to make me look bad. Blah, 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 blah. I'm a princess. Do you remember my video from posted from Geology Hub? Do you remember all those earthquakes just north of the Marianas Trench, the Isuzu Islands? Volcanic eruption on the seabed floor, which caused a landslide, which caused the minor tsunami. And I have said these are some of the things we need to pay attention for. There's more volcanoes in the ocean floors than there are on land. The ocean floor is the thinnest crust on the average of 6 kilometers thick, and that's where we're going to see the first indications coming from, the volcanic eruptions from the seafloor. Tsunamis. Which in fact did happen. Staying on the topic of princesses in the world, this princess stated that the government shut his internet down. I call bullshit. Because he made a formal declaration on the internet saying, yes, in fact, it was the government that shut me down. Therefore, I formally will not be doing any more earthquake forecastings. And what does he do in the next couple of days? He's back on the internet doing more earthquake forecastings. Princess. This is the same guy in Missouri who, during the last G4 geomagnetic storm that briefly spiked up to a G5 dangerous level, which obviously knocks out everybody's internet. Even I couldn't upload videos in that day. This is the same guy that says they, them, and the bushes and the black helicopters above our house were trying to shut his internet down. We're having a geomagnetic storm, man, a bad one. Some guys just want all the attention. I digress. So from all those earthquakes in the Marianas Trench this evening, let's pay attention once again to the Isuzu Islands just north. If there's going to be an energy transfer, then it's going to result in a magnitude 6 to a 6.5 earthquake off the shores of Tokyo. I think not. Because what's happening below our feet is changing, as I so demonstrate so many times. Let's continue on to Iceland. So I just made a post on my Facebook group, 2 pictures, a bunch of earthquakes around Iceland, to the north of Iceland, and I put a side-by-side picture, a picture of the Greenland mantle plume. Iceland is a hot spot, formed in the same manner as the Hawaiian Islands were formed from a hot spot, an active mantle plume. And in fact, it is believed that the Iceland is an extension or a branch or arm from the much larger Greenland plume. Can I tell you something? It's not a volcano they're waiting to explode in Grindavik. There's a couple of small little volcanoes there. It's not a volcano. It's an extension of the mid-Atlantic ridge, which starts from the Antarctic, or close to it, and comes up between South America and Africa, and then off of between North America and Europe, and then bam, it stops at Iceland. It's like a roadblock. It's a continuation. It's not an earthquake. It's a rift opening up. Okay? It's a rift in the Earth's crust. It's a continuation of the Atlantic ridge. And then it goes around to the north side and continues up into the Arctic. It's not a volcano. I don't give my opinion on what's going to happen. Too many people are giving their opinion, and too many times they are wrong. It may or may not be an eruption. It may settle back down. I refer you back to the Palma, Canary Islands eruptions. Some guy, I'm not going to say his name, he said 3 times, okay, it stopped. Erupted again. We don't know. We don't know. It all depends on what's happening below. And that's a boom. That's it for now, folks. I just want to cover a couple of areas because there's just so much happening now. There's a lot of other religious channels that are now tuning in, beginning to tune in, and are slowly beginning to understand and to include the earthquakes and volcanic eruptions with the forewarnings of scriptures. Yeah, so let's pay attention to the Cascadia subduction zone. Again, we like to see the earthquakes offshore. Those are nice. We don't like to see them on land. And there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 in the recent past that are working their way on land. We shall see tonight. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network issues their updates by 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll see tonight. I'm sure I'll be back tonight.